Sure. I thought you told me two. Okay. Well, anyway, these are all oil. They're all done. If you scroll through them, I'll remember which ones I sent. Do you mind doing that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, that's 3. Okay, 4. So they're all done except for this one, which was done about, I don't know, 4 months ago. The rest of them are done, finished in the last 2 or 3 months. The first one is big, for me, it's very big. I mean, for other people, it's not. It's 5 by 5. And the other one, this one is small, 11 by 14, and the other 2 are relatively small. I don't really have much to say. I'm mostly interested. I'd like to actually be showing them to people. I have not much to talk about, except I do have questions that I would like, since I have new eyes on the work. I guess I've had generally 2 responses over the years. One is that people absolutely just love it. And then other people are very indifferent to it. And I was talking to somebody recently, and they said that they thought it might be that it's could you, like, as I'm talking, Lisa, could you like move through the paintings? You know, you don't have to.
Sure.
You know, yeah, like, and best would be to have it, just go, every 5 seconds or whatever,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so because the process is coming from the unconscious, or perhaps the collective unconscious, it's coming from somewhere else. As Glenn said, the painting is directing the flow. Much more so, I think, than his, because there's no representation of anything. There's no sketches, there's no mock-ups, there's no drawings, there's no real, I mean, I suppose it's real life, and that you sort of see a space with a horizon, but there's nothing I'm looking at. And so there's the lack of a automatically built-in logical thing that everybody can. So this is the question. When you look at something, even in abstract painting, when it comes from a representation, something you look at and abstract from, or when you're representational, there's something that we all know, and we can kind of rely on, and we can immediately relate to something because we're surrounded by it all the time. Now, this is also something that we're surrounded by, but each one of us has this, their own subjectivity and their own nervous system. So the work could be considered really personal, even though I think we all have these things that are personal in common. So my question is, because I wonder why, it's either feast or famine. It's either yes or no. When these are looked at by other people, they either respond very strongly, or they don't respond at all, or they respond very weakly. And I wonder if that's because there's not an immediate commonality like you might find in a landscape or in a portrait or in a storytelling. Well, these are kind of storytelling, but it's not a story that everybody knows right away. So that's my question. What did Alice say? By the way, you haven't seen Alice's work. Man, that stuff is good.
Do you want to start mute?
Painting go through major changes as you work on them, or does it feel they grow out of? Yeah, it's incremental, no. Well, sometimes when they're really bad, they go through major changes, but mostly it's a very iterative process. And that chair that Glenn was talking about is a very important part of my practice, in that I make a move and wait make a move and wait, and I go back and forth. I also sometimes rotate the canvas and so forth to kind of get the conversation going. And sometimes it doesn't happen, and I just sit. Now this one took, since it was so big, this one went through major changes, but over a period of 6 months, but little tiny changes at a time. So that's the answer to that question. And that's pretty much it. So what I wanted to know is, from both people that, people that are not affected, I'm interested in that. And for people that are affected, I'm interested in that. And, you don't have, people who are not affected don't have to be kind or anything. I'm just kind of working on this particular question. Or alternatively, if you don't want to answer that question and you happen to have a real question, that would be very good. I would really appreciate that.
Well, I can make a comment. The thing, the colors are really beautiful. They're bright, and it's a really nice palette. The more I look at your work, the thing that really fascinates me is this narrative. To me, it almost feels like a surreal type thing where there's something going on, and I relate to certain images, but I don't understand all of it.
Sort of like something is happening here, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like I feel like I'm in a dream, like it's something the images remind me of something I would see in a dream, but I connect to the painting. I just like the paintings in general.
Well, people who look at this work say it's surrealist. I would have to agree. I didn't know that for a long time until 10 years ago. Somebody told me.
If I can interrupt here, there's several important terms or words that you could use on these. One would be symbolism. One would be metaphoric. They could be allegorical. They could be narrative. But I think your work transcends. Like, leave it here for just a minute. Your work transcends. It can, for me. This is for me. It transcends all the terms that I just used. Certainly, like as Gary was saying, there's a narrative here, but and